Well, I want to start out by thanking everybody for your continued efforts in Pennsylvania. The labor movement has demonstrated a tremendous level of commitment here, and I'm proud to be here with all of you as we work together to ensure that Pennsylvania sends Joe Sestak and Patrick Murphy back to Washington, D.C. And that we help elect Dan Rolando, the next governor of the great state of Pennsylvania. And I want to thank Bill again and his staff. You astonished me election after election, Bill, with your passion for politics. I mean, it must have no life. And I want to thank all the carriers who've been working, who've been volunteering here across the state to turn out the union vote on November 2nd. And I also want to thank all the rank and file union members here today that have given their time to volunteer or have agreed to be released. I know how hard that work can be, but you guys are great. And I know how close these races are, but I also know that because of your dedication, all of these candidates are going to be victorious on November 2nd. For that, I thank you. Now, this national election is a tough one. All over the country, we see incumbents struggling to be reelected. The voters are frustrated, and rightfully so, but too many have wrongly bought into this right-wing Tea Party propaganda that has inundated the airwaves. Absolutely, it's bullshit. Now, we can't compete with the corporate money that's buying all these bogus ads and so forth, but they can't compete with our ability to put smart, dedicated activists like you on the ground to knock on doors, man phone banks, women phone banks, and visit work sites to give workers the real truth about the choice that's before us this election year. When I sit down and I think about the struggles that we're going to face as a nation and as a labor movement with a right-wing, Republican-controlled House and or Senate, I worry that we would not only cease any progressive movement for America's working families, but we would more than likely return to the Bush-era policies of governing, the very policies that put this country into the ditch that we're in. But Pennsylvanians are frustrated. The economy is still lagging, unemployment is still way too high, and voters have pretty much grown impatient. It's understandable, but it's up to us to get out there and remind every voter that we contact at the door, on the phone, or in our communities that the economy didn't get this bad overnight, and it can't be fixed overnight. But turning to candidates that care more about Wall Street CEOs and big bank lobbyists than they do about working people simply is not the logical answer. Now, as governor, Dan Rolando, he's going to be committed to keeping Pennsylvania working. He believes that unions and businesses can work together to create better training opportunities, and he's committed to creating laws enforcing quality wages, benefits, and working standards. His opponent, Tom Corbett, opposes the extension of unemployment benefits during the recession, and he supports corporate tax breaks and outsourcing jobs overseas. Does that sound familiar? It's the same old corporate snake oil. Now, Senator Joe Sestak has a proven record in the U.S. House of Representatives in support of middle-class families. That's why he backed legislation to hold Wall Street accountable and to protect workers and their families from the financial predators who caused the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. His opponent, Pat Toomey, opposes any real financial reform and has absolutely no platform for creating jobs. In fact, between his campaigns for Senate, he went to work on Wall Street and enriched himself at the expense of working families. Pat Toomey offers a return to the failed economic policies of the Bush years. Joe Sestak offers hope for a better future for workers and for their families. In Congress, Patrick Murphy has fought to create jobs here at home, through investments in needed infrastructure projects and support for aid to state and local governments to avoid layoffs. His opponent, Mike Fitzpatrick, favors tax cuts for the wealthy, reducing regulations on businesses and bad trade deals that threaten American jobs. Once again, sound familiar? In Congress, both Representatives Sestak and Murphy were early co-sponsors of House Resolution 173 and H.R. 5746, measures that were aimed at saving Saturday mail delivery, along with 80,000 good jobs, and bolstering the long-term financial viability of the Postal Service. Our choices are pretty clear here. Our jobs, our families, and the future of our nation and the American labor movement are at risk. And together we can turn back this threat. We have 14 days to keep telling our side of the story, the right side of the story, for America's working families. Let's ensure victory for Pennsylvania's labor-endorsed candidates on November 2nd. Let's get out there and let's get the job done. And I want to thank all of you for coming. What you're doing is truly the Lord's work.